The Range Rover is the most seductive financial mistake you can make with a car. I know that's going to upset people. Good, because the ones who get upset are usually the ones who already bought one, and deep down, they know exactly what I mean. I'm not saying it's a bad car. I'm saying it's a car that was engineered to make you feel like you can afford it, and those are two very different things. I've spent 12 years in this industry. I've watched people walk onto lots, see that silhouette, and make a decision with their ego instead of their brain. And I've watched those same people call me 6 months later with a repair bill that quietly changed their financial life. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you the one specific model year and engine combination that actually makes sense to buy, and the exact paperwork you need to demand before you hand over a single dollar. Because there is a version of this car worth owning, you just need to know which one, and almost nobody does. Let's start with the number that should stop you cold. Why is a vehicle that originally sold for over $100,000 now sitting on a used lot for $25,000? That's not a deal. That's a signal. According to CarEdge, a Range Rover loses approximately 74% of its value over 5 years, one of the steepest depreciation curves in the entire luxury segment. A 2021 model that stickered at over $157,000 is now trading around $46,800. A 2020 model sits around $38,500. Kelley Blue Book confirms the 2020 has depreciated roughly 56% in 3 years, with resale values around $27,200. The car didn't get cheaper because it got better. It got cheaper because the people who know what it costs to own one, they already know. The price reflects the risk. And when you buy it used, you inherit that risk completely. Now let's talk generations, because this is where most buyers make the mistake that costs them everything. The L322 ran from 2003 to 2012. Early models used a BMW-sourced 4.4-liter V8, the M62 engine. That engine has a well-documented timing chain guide problem. Plastic guides wear down over time, the chain loses tension, and eventually you get a rattle at cold start that means one thing: the engine is on its way out. Land Rover switched to Jaguar-sourced AJ-V8 engines for the 2006 model year refresh. Better, for a while. Then came the 5.0-liter V8 in 2010. Same timing chain guide failure pattern. Different engine, same result. According to Westminster Motors, a specialist Land Rover workshop, the 5.0-liter and 3.0-liter engines across 2010 to 2013 are specifically flagged as the most vulnerable, with degrading plastic guides as the primary cause. If you're seriously considering an L322, the safest window is 2006 to 2009, with the naturally aspirated 4.4-liter AJ-V8. Not perfect, but historically the least prone to the chain failures that destroyed the reputation of the others. The L405 ran from 2013 to 2021. This is the generation most buyers are looking at right now. And this is where the story gets genuinely complicated. The L405 is a magnificent vehicle. The interior, the ride quality, the road presence. Nothing else in the segment does what a Range Rover does at this level. But the ownership reality is a completely different conversation. So let's go through the failures honestly, one by one. Air suspension first. This is almost always the first thing that costs you money. The four-corner air suspension is what gives you that famous magic carpet ride. It also gives you a compressor that wears out, air springs that crack and leak, and a system that can leave the vehicle sitting on its bump stops by morning. RepairPal puts average strut replacement at $2,565 to $2,977 per axle. Real-world data from the Range Rovers forum shows 2 front struts running anywhere from $2,200 to nearly $5,000, depending on parts and labor. The air compressor alone averages $2,086 to $2,172 to replace per RepairPal. And that's just the suspension. Cooling system next. This one is quieter and more dangerous because of it. Both the 3.0-liter and 5.0-liter engines use plastic coolant crossover pipes. They crack. They leak slowly. Most owners don't notice until the temperature gauge starts climbing. Specialist workshops flag this across 2008 to 2016 model years consistently. Upgraded aluminum replacement pipes exist, and fitting them proactively isn't optional. It's insurance. Ignore a coolant leak on a Range Rover, And you're not just replacing a pipe, you're potentially replacing a head gasket or an engine. Then there are the electrical gremlins. And honestly, this is the one that breaks people emotionally. A weak battery on a Range Rover doesn't just leave you stranded. It triggers a cascade of warning lights across every system simultaneously. 4WD unavailable, transmission warnings, infotainment reboots, powered seats that stop responding. And here's the part that makes experienced mechanics shake their heads. In many cases, the fix is simply a battery replacement. But because the symptoms look exactly like major system failures, owners spend thousands chasing faults that were never really there. According to Endurance Warranty, average annual maintenance runs approximately $1,258, and that's before any major repair event hits. Now the timing chain on the L405. Because yes, it carries the same vulnerability. The 5.0-liter V8 has the same plastic guide problem that plagued the L322. Forum data from Land Rover World puts the repair at $3,500 at a trusted independent, up to $11,000 or higher at a dealership. Westminster Motors puts the specialist range at $5,500 to $8,500. One 2017 Range Rover Sport owner on Reddit reported a timing chain failure that escalated to a full engine replacement, a $28,500 out-of-pocket bill even after a 30% manufacturer goodwill contribution. And here's the thing that separates people who buy these smartly from people who learn this the hard way. By the time you hear the rattle, the chain is already failing. Fragments are already circulating in the oil. At that point, you're not replacing a chain, you're potentially replacing the entire engine. So what's the actual answer? Here it is. The model year and engine combination that genuinely beats the system. The 2018 to 2021 L405 facelift with the 3.0-liter supercharged V6 gasoline engine. Not the diesel, not the V8, the V6. The facelift brought a revised air suspension architecture with meaningfully reduced failure rates. The ZF 8-speed transmission received updated calibration. The In-Control Touch Pro infotainment replaced the older resistive touchscreen with a more reliable capacitive unit. And the 3.0-liter V6, lower complexity than the V8, better documented reliability across the facelift years, is the configuration that specialist mechanics consistently recommend for used buyers who want to actually enjoy the car rather than fund its repairs. But the right configuration is only half the equation. The other half is the paperwork. Full service records, not partial, full. Every oil change, every suspension inspection, every software update. If the seller can't produce a complete history, walk away, immediately. No negotiation. Get a pre-purchase inspection from a Land Rover specialist, not a general mechanic. Someone who works on these vehicles every single day. Have them check the air suspension compressor, pressure test the cooling system, listen for timing chain rattle on a cold start, pull fault codes from every module, not just the engine, and budget honestly, not optimistically. Set aside a repair fund before you buy, not after something goes wrong. Buy one with your eyes fully open, the right model year, a documented service history, a trusted independent already identified, and a realistic budget for ownership. And it can genuinely be one of the most extraordinary vehicles you've ever driven. That's the honest answer. After 12 years, that's still the honest answer. And if you want to keep whatever you drive out of the workshop for the things you can actually control, grab the Mr. Car Insider Field Manual. Bulletproof your ride. 10 maintenance hacks. Over $1,000 saved per year. The coolant inspection that catches leaks before they become engine failures. The battery test that stops electrical gremlins before they start. Link is in the description. And if you want to know which used luxury SUVs I'd actually buy before any new car under $40,000, the ones that give you the depreciation advantage without the Range Rover nightmare, that video is up next. 10 vehicles, real prices, real ownership costs. Don't skip it.